Hey, my name is Deborah Winters. Welcome to my YouTube channel, a place where you will hear conversations with ordinary people telling their extraordinary stories. Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, Their Stories. I hope you listened to last week. I sat and had a conversation with Lolimar Cortes. Great story, and she talked about her daughter Alyssa Santana. And we had a follow-up conversation, and I asked Alyssa if she would be willing to sit with me and give her part of the story. And she said yes. So I'm so excited that we're sitting here together and we're just gonna jump in. So now, how old are you, Alyssa? 17. And you are in high school?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, are you a senior this year?
Yep.
Yes. And you have a job. You work part-time?
Yeah, part-time.
Where do you work?
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree. So let's just kind of go back. What are your first memories of your mom and the life with your mom? Because you were young when she left your father. So you guys went into an apartment and you actually rented a room. So do you remember that time in your life? What were your first memories?
Like when you mentioned that, my first memory that pops up is when she would be working late at night, working like doubles, and I would be with her friend, and her friend would always put me to bed with her daughter. That's like my recent memory of it.
So this was in the apartment where you guys were living, and you were staying in a room in the a bedroom in the apartment, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So were those good? Do you have a good memories? Because she talked about in the conversation we had that she would just knock herself out with meds just to medicate the pain, and she would just leave and expect you to stay in the room and just be a good little girl. Do you remember any of that?
I mostly remember always being like by myself with the dog. Oh. We had a dog named Lily.
Yeah.
So I would mostly just be with Lily, and I'd mostly just be walking her around the apartment complex.
So you would, how old were you then?
I was probably like 4 or 5.
No, so you would leave the apartment?
Well, we were upstairs, and then downstairs there's like this big old patio yard with the mailboxes. So I was always like nearby. And Lily was a really good dog, so she always knew when to draw me back to the apartment.
Wow, so you were 4 or 5 and outside the apartment, the confines of the apartment. And you were just, so do you remember those emotions? Were you scared, or were you comfortable, or is that just a way of life for you? Is that life as you knew it?
Yeah, it was my normal.
Yeah.
It wasn't very different from any other day.
Yeah.
So, and if I was like in the apartment, I would mostly be like watching shows off my phone, like Littlest Pet Shop videos.
Oh, okay.
I would just be playing with my dolls in another room.
Okay. And then you guys, at some point in time, your mom connected with her adopted mom and Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so do you remember those days? Were those good days?
Yeah.
Yeah, because is that when the change occurred? You more a stable environment? And you guys got out on your own in an apartment, right?
Yeah, they were one of the few people that like really helped out.
Yeah.
If my mom ever had to go someplace, I remember she would always drop me off there.
Oh, okay.
So Millie, her adoptive mom,
yes,
she had bought a puppy named Snow.
Okay.
And I remember going with her for that day, and I remember always being asleep in the back of her car, and then she picked up Snow. So I spent like the whole day just like in love with the dog.
Oh, and so you had Lily and Snow.
Well, Snow wasn't mine. Snow was
hers,
but
it was her.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So you have some good memories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So life fast forward. At some point in time, your mom met Angel. Mm-hmm. And so can you talk a little bit about that? Because she did talk a little bit about it the last time when I recorded her conversation, her story. And she talked about when you would just lay outside their bedroom on the floor because you were so used to being connected. So can you talk a little bit about meeting Angel and what you felt?
To put it frank, I really disliked him.
Disliked him. We want to be honest. Yeah, you disliked him.
I very much disliked him because this was like after her toxic relationship.
Yes.
So in that mindset, I was like 10 or 11, I believe.
Okay.
And I was already in the mindset of where there will be no man in the relationship. And I was completely fine with it. I was like...
Because men are bad.
Yeah,
they're evil. They're toxic. And we do not need that.
For me, it was just like, no, I don't want that. I don't need that. I don't need a dad. My mom can be my dad and my mom.
Yes. Life was good.
Life was good for me because it was just me and her. So I became very overprotective of her. And I still very much am. Like, she's my mom. And at that point in that time, I had to be her mom.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're right.
When I met Angel for the first time, and keep in mind, he was very nice. Like, he was always nice.
He's a nice guy.
But I was just very cold. And I just looked at him and I said, you are not going to be my dad.
You did? Now, was that early on?
It was very early. This was like when they started dating and they started going out and going cute little fair rides. And I remember my mom would always start talking to me about him, trying to get me used to the idea.
Yes.
And I would just shut her down and I'd say, why would you need him if you have me? I just did not like the idea of having to share because I thought that he was going to come in and it was going to be a repeat of everything.
Oh, yes.
And then at some point when they had gotten married, I slowly started warming up to him and I started calling him dad.
So back up. So how did you feel about the fact that, he proposed, they were going to get married? How did you work through that? I mean, were the walls still up?
The walls were still up.
Okay.
Because she was given that promise of marriage in her
from the toxic guy. Is this the toxic guy? Was that the one that she went to the wedding and then she called Millie and said, come and get me?
Yeah.
Okay.
He cut it off entirely. And she had to return the dress and everything.
Okay. All right. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So when he had done that, immediately in my head, I was like, I'm going to have to go and pick up my mom and have to see her with a white dress crying her eyes out.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So he proposes, they're going to get married, and how did you respond? Because you had to accept that they were going to get married. Yeah. So you just were you just quiet and didn't say, or were you verbal? I mean, what was your interaction?
I was very quiet.
Okay, because she's a quiet child.
I was very quiet. I kept it.
Young lady.
Yeah, I was very quiet. I just kept it locked away. I didn't express it. I never I never dumped it on my mother because and even in my infant years, I never really dumped stuff on my mom.
Your adolescent years?
Yeah. I never dumped stuff on my mom.
So you just kept all those feelings inside?
I would just keep my feelings inside, and then if something small happened, I would immediately bust into tears, and everyone would think I'm just being dramatic with it. So it's like a constant repetition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you just gave your life to Christ? Do you remember when you said, okay, I want Jesus in my life?
Yeah, it was...
Was that before Angel?
Nope. It was after.
So what I'm trying to figure out is you had no one. You didn't go to your room and pray and ask Jesus to help you through this. It was just you. Because you really had no one to talk to. Or did you talk to Millie?
No.
So it was just you dealing with this pain.
Yeah.
Wow, just wow. Okay, so you're going to get married and you're just keeping it to yourself. Did you express to them how you felt? I don't want you to get married. I don't want this in my life. Or you just went along with it?
I went along with it because I saw how happy it made my mom.
Yeah.
So I was just in my head, I was thinking I shouldn't be selfish and try to take away my mom's happiness.
Mm-hmm. So they got married. And how long did it take you to finally warm up to Angel? Did it take, was it years?
No, they ended up getting married, I believe, right before I entered into 7th grade.
Okay.
And 7th grade was like the worst year. And then that's the same year I also gave my life to Christ. And when I had gotten back from my retreat, that's when I finally like sat myself with Angel and I was like, I apologized.
You did? Okay, so the worst year because of the newness of everything, this man in your home?
That, and I myself had gone into a 7th grade relationship, and it just was turmoil after. So.
A guy, okay.
Yeah.
All right. How old are you in 7th grade?
Oh,
I don't know. 13, 14?
I think.
No, was it? Okay, I'm just curious. You had this guy and you were just brokenhearted.
Yeah, that was one of my major heartbreaks.
Oh, wow. So retreat was church related?
Yes, it was a church youth event.
Okay, and you went away?
Yes, I went away for 45 days.
Okay.
We went to Daytona Beach.
Now, did you have a heart? Was this at family worship?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the Awaken.
Okay. Family worship, my church. So you went. So at the retreat, you had a heart change. You just decided.
Yeah, there was a sermon that was spoken by another pastor, I believe, and I can't really recall all the memories of it, but I just remember finally feeling heard. And like someone actually saw me.
So God actually saw you where you were.
Yeah.
And he knew the pain.
And I remember Pastor Ben's wife, Chelsea. I remember she had like grabbed me and pulled me into a hug and she was like, I'm right here.
Oh, so sweet.
Yeah. That's when I felt like genuinely seen.
Oh, wow. So was there any counseling outside of that, or was it just the fact that she said, I see you, and I'm here?
There's definitely more counseling. She was talking very much through Christ. Like Christ was just going through her because she was just like, I see every tribulation you're going through. I see the pain.
Yes.
And I just want you to know I'm here and that you're not alone.
Oh, wow.
And
so wise, right?
Yeah. And she was just really sweet.
Oh my goodness. So you knew coming home that you needed to make a change, that you need to sit down and have a conversation with. And so when you came home, how did you handle that? Did you just say, I want to talk, or what did that look like?
At first, I actually wrote everything in a book.
Okay.
And before...
Now, you did that because you just felt prompted to do it, or were you invited? Did Chelsea say?
Yeah, I wasn't advised. Like, just write everything down that you feel.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? So you did. You came home and wrote everything down.
Yeah, I had everything pre-written. I'm pretty sure I was riding the bus like consistently and just having my headphones in.
Okay.
And I had came home and my mom said she had even seen a change because I was just smiling. I was all happy.
That's awesome. Well, so you're a senior now, so that was 6 years ago. Okay. So, okay. Wow. How wonderful. So you came home and you were still writing. So how long did it take for you to make a decision to...
To write, yes. And then it was just like a whole family sit down. And
really? Did you like call a family together?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Kind of situation. I was just like, I feel like we all need to talk.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
In that year, I had done a lot of bad things. Like
so bad things as an attitude?
Yes. I was like, in that year, I feel like that's when all the anger had hit me. And it just bundled. Okay. And like...
And you were lashing out.
Lashing out way more than any other year in my life. Like
really?
That year...
And your mom said, who is this child?
Yeah. I was just full of anger and like... I did not... I couldn't even consider anyone my family. Like it was to that point where I would just stay in my room angry.
Wow. That was lonely, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you said to the family, we need to talk. Mm-hmm. And what did that look like? Walk us through that.
It was It was very awkward and quiet. And
Did you bring your journal of notes?
oh no, I just sat down and I was very quiet and I kept messing with my fingers. I kept messing
You were
around.
nervous.
Yeah, I was very nervous and I started crying a lot and I was saying how sorry I felt.
Oh.
And I had told him how much I was affected. And
by their decision.
by not only their decisions, but by the past that my mother had of when I was a child.
So you just
I
regurgitated all of that, the
everything.
pain.
All the built up. Of course, I
Oh
didn't
my
go
gosh.
into depth, but I did give him a brief rundown of how much their actions did affect me and how much of it kept going and going and
Oh, wow.
what the build-ups were about, why I kept lashing out over every single little detail. And I just told them everything.
That is amazing that you would be mature enough to do that.
Yeah, I had to mature at a young age.
Clearly, when you had to babysit yourself, you had to look out for yourself when your mom wasn't able to mentally or physically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, so I have so many questions. So you sat down and you just laid it out.
Laid it out.
And they listened?
They listened. And then I remember that we left the discussion at that. There was no questions, no nothing. They had both just sat down and they were nodding their heads continuously.
Okay.
Because it was just that situation where you couldn't really ask any
What
questions.
did you say?
You couldn't engage. You just had to sit there and listen.
And take it, yeah.
And take it in. Because at one point, that person needs to be able to at least discuss how they're feeling without feeling as if their feelings are invalidated because of their own emotions.
Right. So good. So you just laid it out, and then how did that conversation end? I mean, was there I'm sorry, we hear you, we love you?
There's definitely I'm sorry's and I love you's. And I remember my mother having hugged me and telling me how sorry she was. And at that point, I was very much far from healed.
Yeah.
So
you basically had ripped the Band-Aid off, right?
Yeah. So it was still very much opened. So having heard the I'm sorry's, a part of me just was in my head.
I've heard this before.
I've heard this so many times. But I tried to keep a positive mindset, and I was just saying, I hope we can move forward in our relationship. Because,
you said that?
Yeah, I was I don't want to live in a household all my life tiptoeing.
Yes.
And having to constantly be in direct, fire of every single thing. And even now, at this point in my life, I still tell them, especially if they argue or something, I tell them, you can't always put me in this spotlight of, oh, well, your mom upset me because of this. Oh, your dad upset me because of this. I always tell them I'm not your marriage counselor.
Did you hear that? You need to take it to the other room, right?
I always tell them.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, you had the conversation where you just laid everything out and you guys walked away from that. So over a period, what did the next day look like in the next week, in the next month? I mean, did you see a change? Or was it an interchange or just a family change?
Interchange.
Okay.
Over the weeks and the months, I had started 8th grade, I believe, and I was way more focused, more happy.
Oh, okay.
I was making a lot more friends, but I was also treading lightly, and I wasn't too trusting because, of course, in my 7th grade years,
with regard to the home and your mom and
with
Angel.
that, but also as well as young as I could have been due to my past, I was very independent. So I wasn't
you were raised to be independent. You had to be.
I had to be.
Yeah.
And so it was very hard for me to sit down with someone and pour my whole soul into that.
Yeah.
And it made me a bit tad emotionless. So
that is so good.
And I wasn't very sure of how to face conflict in friendships because all my life had just been conflict after conflict. So nobody ever taught me how to properly sit down, communicate, speak what upset me. I was told always to just like hold it in,
Suck
don't
it
cry,
up.
suck
Yeah.
it up, and just keep going. So most of my friendships or relationships, they would be burnt before they could even be built because of how like one slight misunderstanding and I would immediately
Just blow up?
lock down.
Or would you just walk away?
Walk away, distance myself. Because in my head, I was just like, I'm not going to do this.
Well, it's self-preservation, wasn't it? You didn't want to have the pain of having to deal with conflict, right?
I feel like in the relationships of my mother, they affected me at some point because in my like relationships like boyfriends and stuff, I tread very lightly with that because, and I know she doesn't mean like for that to always inflict in me in my future, but it does.
Well, yeah.
And any slight behavior, I'll immediately take as I have to stand my guard. I have to put a defense mechanism.
Right.
And just put it straight there.
Protection.
And then for friendships, it was just always the same thing. I felt as though like I can't pour myself too much into a person because what if they backstab me? Yeah. Because that's
there were trust issues.
Trust
right?
issues, definitely, yes.
Yeah. So much. So let's walk through this. So with regard to the home and you and your mom and Angel, so you saw a growth there in yourself. So when did you sit down with Angel? How long did that take before you could sit down and say, I want you to be my dad, or will you be my dad, or can I call you that? However, whatever that looked like.
It was never really a sit down. It was just, I believe one day I had addressed him as dad.
You just called him dad?
Slipped out, and then, but
and it was comfortable.
It was a comforted word, and it just came out. Like I was just like, Dad, could you get me something? And I just remembered like standing there, and I was just like,
did I say that?
And he had just taken it lightly, and he was just like, of course, I'll go get it for you. And I was just like very nervous with that because back in the past relationship, I had always asked my mom if I could call the boyfriend dad, but I never, ever, ever had said it. I always asked like if I could, but it never came out. I would always call him by his first name, but with Angel, it just came out naturally.
So was that the second year maybe? You would have been in 8th grade probably?
Yes, because that's the year we started really
building a relationship.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to think of what that looks like, just building a relationship with Angel and your mom. Does anything stand out?
It was slowly like he would make me breakfast.
He would?
Yeah, he would.
Oh, did that start early on?
It would, but I would always disregard it. So it sat
you wouldn't
down to
eat?
the point, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't even eat that much even at that age. I was just always in the book. Well, in 7th grade, yeah, I was more worried about my figure, my body, everything.
Yeah.
So,
can't eat too much.
Yeah.
I put on a pound or two.
Yeah.
So he would cook breakfast and you wouldn't eat.
Or if I did, I would take the plate and put it in my room and I would just eat in my room.
Got it.
Yeah.
Remove yourself.
Yeah, because I just never wanted to sit down with him. But I remember we slowly started, we had like this table, of course, in the kitchen. So I would just sit down right there. And we would just slowly build it up and be like, how did you sleep? I slept
okay. You were feeling more comfortable, engaging.
And of course, it wasn't like deep conversations in the beginning, obviously not. It was small talk.
Yes.
We got comfortable.
But you were trying, right?
I was trying to like be more engaging and just asking him like, or I would even just tell him like, have a good day at work or before I left for school.
Yeah.
So I tried to make sure, and I would always just be like, bye, Dad. Like very quietly, and I would leave.
How long do you think it took when you really felt comfortable having him as a father figure in your home, in your life?
Truthfully, I would say
She's going to be truthful.
about last year.
So how long have they been married? Do you know? Do we know?
They've been married since before I was in...
Well, 6 years. So it's taken several years for you to feel comfortable. Now you're in a new home now. So you think that played into that?
Well, it's because at first, like when we were building a relationship, he himself didn't have the best relationship with his own biological kids.
Oh, he does have 3 children.
He does. So
you're right.
That was also another thing because I always felt like I could not be his kid because I'm not blood.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was very much of that. So I never, like when I started calling him dad, he wasn't very expressive with the idealism of me being his daughter.
Got it.
So it would always be that wall right there between us because it's
so it wasn't just you, it was him as well.
No, it was both of us, like both of us. And then I believe last year was when we finally I believe it was during a prayer. He had hugged me and he was like, I know you don't know, and I know I don't express it to you enough, but I do love you as a daughter.
Oh.
And I just remember bawling.
Did you cry? Yeah, I'm just crying now, but yes.
Because that was when we finally opened up to each other and we were like, yes,
we're in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Wow. Just thinking about what that must have felt like. Okay. So how do you feel today? I mean, are you still, are there still, do you feel healed? I guess is. I know that your mom talked about a conflict that you guys had. Was it a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
So
it was like a month, I believe, now.
A month.
Yeah.
So she triggered something with you. And I think it was, she'd said you were being childish.
It was a conflict, and she was very upset. And she triggered me by saying how weak I was. Weak is the word. Yes. Okay. We were in an argument, and I had went into my room.
And you're certainly not a weak young lady.
No, and she had followed after, and because my profession, what I want to be is psychology.
Yes.
And she had came into the room and she said, you are too weak to be a psychologist. There is no way you can be a psychologist if you can't even handle me saying these words to you. And I remember how angry I felt.
At that moment?
In that moment, I was just, I wanted to just push her away and slam the door and just scream at her. But I held it, and this just brought back so many memories of when I was a kid and I had to hold my tongue because I was too scared to say anything.
Yes.
And she just kept going on and on about how weak I was, about how I'm too emotional and babyish, and how I'm sensitive and I cry over the smallest of things. And I had remembered how she just walked out and I just laid there on my carpet sobbing my eyes out.
And this was a month ago. Okay.
And the day after, I completely ignored her. I had my headphones in. I would walk out the kitchen.
Shut down.
I'd shut down. And I didn't have anyone to talk to. Because as much as I love my dad, he was always going to go to her directly. So, and I don't have a sibling to talk to, of course.
Right.
So, the only one I could ever talk to is my ferret in my room. So it's she can't really help me just by unless she's gonna lick away my tears or something. That's about it. And I had told one friend, and that friend just did not know how to comfort me, and I completely understood it because I was just sobbing my heart out. I was crying because it wasn't just the fact that she had called me weak. It was just the fact that she could say all of that to my face and then walk away. As if she didn't just leave her child in pieces.
My gosh. Yeah. Wow.
And I completely avoided her for a day. It was a whole day that we lasted without just talking. And then I believe the next day prior,
the next day after
2 days.
that?
After
2 days.
that,
Okay.
that second day, she had pulled me into the office and she had came in and she was like, "Are you still intending on ignoring me?" And I just looked at, and I don't know how, or like, but she seems to have known like how upset I was, because she just looked at me up in my eyes and my eyes were just cold. Like,
you were shut down.
Yeah, I could be smiling in my car, and then as soon as I came home, my face would drop and my eyes would just go down, and I would have my AirPods in, and I'm just, in my mindset during those 2 days, I was just like, don't engage, don't talk to her, go to your room.
So what were you thinking though? Were you thinking at some point in time, I have to talk to her?
Oh no, I was very adamant in not talking to her. I was very adamant. Like,
Okay.
I did not want to talk to her. I didn't even want to talk to my dad at that point. Because I felt hurt.
Yeah.
Because
you've been through so much.
It just felt like a slap in my face, because it's like, to me at that, like in that moment, I was just like, I've been the one standing beside you this entire time.
All my life.
And you've stabbed me in the back with saying how weak I am.
Yes.
And I remember we were finally talking in the office, and she had told me, she was just saying how we can't keep ignoring each other like this, and she was just like, you know what, tell me everything. Tell me everything that's on your chest. Yell at me, scream at me if you have to. And I didn't scream. I quietly and brokenly said how selfish she is and how broken I am because of this. And I told her, I said, you consider me weak, but I'm not weak. I'm strong because I had to hold up my own emotions along with you. I'm the one who had to remind you to eat. I'm the one who had to remind you to drink, to get out of bed, to go shower, to go bathe yourself. I'm the daughter who at a young age had to switch off the child mentality. And I said, this is exactly why I'm emotional. It's why I'm childish at 17 years old, because I never got to be a child.
Yes.
So I'm going to get excited if I see a Littlest Pet Shop. I'm going to get excited if I see Paw Patrol. I'm going to get all childish and giddy because a part of me never
that.
healed.
You didn't have that. Yes.
And I told her, I said, you say I'm emotional, but what it is I'm hypersensitive, because I had to grow up tiptoeing around if I'm going to offend you, if I'm going to make you mad, or if I'm going to make you sad, or if I'm going to tip over your emotions. Because that's how it always was. If I said something, it would be immediate, like, whiplash. Like, it was just always an unstable thing where I had to tread lightly on. And I told her, I said, I had to grow at such a young age. I don't believe I'm weak. I just believe that I'm more mentally emotional than most people for my age. And I understand that you may consider it weak because you don't cry, you don't break down over the smallest of things, but I do. And that's how I'm going to express myself. And she just went quiet, and she looked at me, and she just went very quiet. She was just looking away, and I was telling her, and I kept going, and I was like, I'm not weak. And I hate the word when you use it, because I'm always the one you go to. So if I'm so weak, why are you relying on me for every little thing? And at that point, we both went quiet, and in my head, I started running, and I was just like, why did I say all that? Why did I have to open my mouth? I should have just said, you know what, you're right, I'm weak, whatever, walk out the door, keep going on. But then at some point, she looked up, and she was like, do you feel better now? And I was just like, what? She was like, do you feel better that you expressed this? And I took a deep breath, and I was just like, yeah, I feel better. Because I did, because I finally, out of like 17 years of my life, I finally got to tell someone every single thing that I felt and that I've experienced and that I've seen. Like, I finally got to open myself.
Just lay it all out there.
And lay it all out in detail.
Now, were you calm in this delivery, or was it emotional?
My voice was very shaky, and my hands were shaky, and my cheeks were very flushed and red, and my eyes were watery, and I was crying.
Yes.
But I was trying to, like, keep my composure.
Because you wanted to get everything out.
I wanted to get everything out.
How long did that last? I mean, how long did it take you just to?
Oh goodness, it was probably up to an hour.
Yeah. So at the end of that, what happened? I mean, was it, I'm sorry?
She had looked up at
Forgive me.
and she was just looking up at me. She said, I'm sorry that I had to put you through that at such a young age, and you're absolutely right. You had to grow up younger. You had to grow up quicker than most of your peers, and I'm sorry. And I was just like, it's all right. It's already been done. You can't go back. You can't go off the drugs when you were in that stage.
You can't undo what's been done.
It, yeah. And I was just like, I forgive you.
Yeah.
I had to forgive her. I couldn't keep up with the.
And that was huge for her to say, I'm sorry for what I put you through, and for you to say, I forgive you. Because once that happens, then the healing can
begin.
Yes. Oh, wow. Wow. How do you feel today?
I still definitely struggle with expressing myself. I feel it's always going to be that flaw of mine.
Oh, it doesn't have to be, but go ahead.
Well, I feel like it's always going to be a struggle at some point.
A challenge?
Always a challenge to not do it. It's going to be like a habit that I'm going to have to break repeatedly for me to be able to finally build progress.
So what is the challenge that you feel like you will have to deal with?
Expressing myself.
Okay.
To actually like tell people how I'm feeling instead of emotionally shutting down.
You'll have to work on that. Yeah.
Definitely. Another thing is, yes, to manage my emotions properly, but to also be more easier on myself, because I'm definitely my worst enemy.
Are you?
Yeah.
And I think you should pursue that career that you want. I mean, wow, just listening to you, you're very good. You're very articulate and expressing yourself. So that's wonderful. I mean, this has been great. Yeah. I'm just really impressed. So what's the next step? You finish high school, and then what's your plan after that?
Plan after that?
Because you're a really smart girl in school, aren't you?
I guess.
She's really smart. So what's your plan?
Well, I started already applying to colleges.
Okay.
But I have to probably finish senior year, and then I decided not to take a gap year. Okay. I just want to get
go into it. Yes.
And I want
to. Did you do the dual enrollment with?
Yes, okay. I'm in my dual enrollment.
So you're in your second year of college, right?
No, first year.
First year? But you didn't do 2 years, because can't kids do 2 years of dual enrollment or not? I thought you could graduate high school with
There's
2 years.
There's 2 semesters.
Okay.
That's because the classes there. I started my class in September and I ended it on December 4th.
Okay.
So it's like.
Got it. And then you have another semester to go.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Another semester to go.
So you'll have a year under your belt.
Yeah.
Yes. So will you go to Polk State?
That's the idea, at least for 2 years to get everything built, and then I was planning on transferring into UCF for their psychology program.
So we're pursuing that. Oh, I think you'll be great at that, because you're strong.
I would say.
Oh, well, this is really, and it's probably going to still be a process, just because you've had a lot of growing up to do in 17 years. Well, you had a lot of growing up to do just for the first 10, 11, 12 years of your life. Yeah. So, but yeah. And there's peace in this home.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful to walk into a home and feel peace. Yeah.
I'm slowly healing my inner child.
Yeah.
I have stuffed animals in my room that I'll occasionally play with.
Yes.
Yeah. And
And
my mom will see me do it, and she'll just be like, "This is your way of healing."
Yes,
And
embrace it, right?
Like, I'm not gonna hide that I have stuffed animals. I do, and I have every single one of them named, and I remember.
You
all
do.
Of them.
This is healthy.
It is.
I mean, there's a healing in that, right?
Yeah, there's a healing because I just feel like I'm not going back in time, but I'm fixing a part of myself that is slowly needing to be fixed in order to move forward.
Yes.
Especially the little me that was left.
Wow. To think for yourself.
Yeah. Because I definitely do believe in like the inner child, the inner teen, and then your adult. Mm-hmm. And the inner child is definitely the one that is most hurt in like my entire.
And you recognize that.
I recognize it.
So what? I mean, have you done? Are you a reader? Do you do a lot of reading?
I do occasionally, yes.
So
I'm just online.
I'm just trying to think of how you would know that the inner child needs to be fixed. Where did that come from?
The inner child?
But you know, this is a process. I need to fix that. This is not something a normal child, teenager would know that.
It was actually a TikTok that had like illustrated it. It was talking about the balances of the inner teen and your inner child, and how those are the two major inflictions in your life, the two major roles in your brain that help you develop into the person who you are.
Got it.
And it talked about the inner child and how often neglected it is. And it's basically the younger you that was neglected or forgotten. And it's why people have attachment issues, people have behavioral issues, because that part of them was never heard or never healed properly. And there was, in this one video, this girl was talking of how she had felt when her parents had been divorced. And I believe that hit me, because I was like, I never had the experience of my father being my first love. So I was definitely like, I feel like my inner child is the part of me that was never healed, because I'm still a teen, so I'm slowly healing myself in my teen years, of course. Right. But the inner child, she never knew how to heal. She was just taught to glue a piece of glass together and tape it on and pray to God that it stayed there without falling off as she went on. So now I'm just gonna have to go back and refix everything and put in a tighter steel.
Wow, this is good. Wow. Okay, anything else you want to say? So if kids are watching, teens are watching, do you have any advice that are broken and hurting and been where you've been? Anything you want to say?
I would say, I know they probably heard this quote so many times
But
because
just
I've heard
it.
It's the quote of like, you're not alone. I've heard this so many times, and trust me, I've always rolled my eyes because I was like,
again.
Here we go again. Of course I'm not alone. But like, genuinely, there's so many people my age that have probably experienced the things I've experienced. And what just inspires me is how people of my age, they can go about their day and continue to be the best version of themselves. As where others sadly cannot, because they had ended their lives too soon. And I feel that's also what pushes me to continue, because I've definitely had those thoughts of where maybe the world would have been better if I wasn't here, all that stuff.
All that.
But what kept me going was definitely like, I want to live for the people who couldn't. And it was in
You want to be a voice?
I want to be a voice for the unheard.
Yeah.
So I definitely that's what kept me going. So something I would have said to a teenager of my age who probably been experiencing the similar things as me, I would tell them probably to just sit down, breathe, and look in a mirror and just find one imagery of themselves that they love and slowly build it. Because as a person, self-love is something that is very much lacked in humanity, but it's the most needed.
great. She's good. Wow, thank you for being real and being transparent. That's good. I mean, you've been through a lot and you're still young and you have such a bright future. And God is with you. He's walking every step with you. And that's the most important. That's how we do this. That's how we do this. To have Jesus in our hearts, and because He's our Lord, He's our Savior, He helps. He walks with us through the hard things, right?
Yes. And it is always going to be a struggle, always. But
we are all a work in progress, right?
Exactly. It's like what my mom always said, how what's it called? Mosaic arts. They're all shattered glasses that are being put together with glue
to make a beautiful
picture.
And you know, in that journey that will always have challenges, we can have peace and we can have joy because we know who's our Savior's with us, walking the journey with us. We're not alone, right?
It's the strawberry moments.
The strawberry?
Yeah, I learned that in my dual enrollment class.
I don't know what that is. I love strawberries, but what is the strawberry moment?
They consider the strawberry moment, it was talking about mental health, and they consider the strawberry moments to be the little things in life that add just a little bit of happiness. And how they're always just the smallest things, but they mean so much to a person.
And strawberries typically are very delicious and sweet, right? Yes, the strawberry moment. Got it. Well, guys, thank you. Wow, we've talked a long time. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for sitting here. It's been wonderful. Just wonderful. She's my youngest yet. Alrighty, guys, you have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time, and God bless. Bye.